So Ed Martin is the Trump-appointed interim U.S. attorney for Washington, D.C. The Justice Department described his job this way, quote, United States attorneys serve as the nation's principal litigators under the direction of the Attorney General of the United States of America. They work for the country, in other words, not the country's president. Yet Mr. Martin is now describing himself as the president's lawyer, and that certainly seems to have endeared him to the president, who now wants him to be the U.S. attorney for Washington, not just the interim one. So who is Ed Martin? Well, he was an organizer with the so-called Stop the Steal movement who spoke at a rally in Washington the day before the Capitol attack.
Thank you for standing with all of the patriots next to you. And thank you for standing for our president. But remember, what they're stealing is not just an election. It's our future.
Martin also represented some of the January 6 rioters. He became the first U.S. attorney for Washington, D.C. in at least 50 years to be appointed without experience as a judge or a federal prosecutor, according to the Washington Post. And he makes no bones about where his loyalty lies. This is what he said online yesterday. Quote, as President Trump's lawyers, we are proud to fight to protect his leadership as our president, and we are vigilant in standing against entities like the AP that refuse to put America first. The AP is the Associated Press. Along those lines, Mr. Martin recently offered to file charges against anyone who threatens members of Elon Musk's team. And last week, in an internal email obtained by CNN, he said he was launching what he called Operation Whirlwind, saying, quote, we must protect our cops, our prosecutors, our DOJ workers, the president, and all of the government employees from threats against our nation. We're now to talk about his former federal prosecutor, CNN senior legal analyst, Elie Honig. Is he qualified to be the U.S. attorney?
No, but if only he was just unqualified, we'd be in a better position where we are here. You know, I've taken a deep dive on Ed Martin over the last several weeks since he took office, and I'm sounding I'm sounding the alarm bells here, and I don't do that often. Ed Martin brings a toxic blend of traits to the job. One, he's never done the job before. Now, that's not automatically disqualifying, but he doesn't know what he's doing, and he doesn't understand the big principles, as reflected in what you just showed. Calling yourself the president's lawyers goes against everything the Justice Department is about. Two, he brings this startling arrogance to the job. If you look at his public statements, everything is chest beating. Everything is, I'm going to tear you down. It is not becoming of a prosecutor, and it suggests to me an amateur who's trying to act like a tough guy. And then finally, and I think most problematically, he is explicitly political. He is bringing a political agenda to seek out and seek vengeance on those who've wronged Donald Trump and Elon Musk.
What is that job supposed to be? What do you do?
You get the privilege, it sounds corny, but you get to stand up in court and say, representing the United States of America. So there's really two components of it. One is the criminal prosecution angle, where you're supposed to bring cases without regard to politics. This guy is doing or threatening to do the exact opposite. And then there's a civil component where you defend the U.S. government in suits. But the whole notion of without fear or favor, that's another cliche we like. I mean, his public statements have been almost entirely geared towards, I will avenge Donald Trump, I will avenge Elon Musk, I will avenge DOJ.
It's interesting because even Pam Bondi said during her confirmation hearing that her client is the people of America.
Yeah, well, she's right. She's right. And look, she's been a prosecutor. I have plenty of criticisms of her so far. Number one being, she's sort of checked out. She didn't even know what was happening with Eric Adams. She needs to reel in this guy, Ed Martin, because Pam Bondi's been a prosecutor for a long time. He has not, and I think that's a very telling difference right there.
And just in a traditional presidency, the Justice Department, they're not supposed to even have a whiff of White House politics. I mean, they're not supposed to have connections at all.
You're supposed to be separate. There's actually policies in place that both at the White House traditionally and DOJ that limit the contact and basically say, we're supposed to be separate. And, you know, one of the things that this guy has posted that I think is really outrageous is he's basically threatening people. He's threatening Jack Smith. He's threatening anyone.
He's threatening the lawyers who represented Jack Smith.
Right. So it's sort of like anyone who touched anything to do with any Trump prosecution or with any January 6th prosecution. The first thing he did when he took office was fire a whole bunch of January 6th prosecutors. By the way, he had defended January 6th cases. That's okay, but it's obviously there's a conflict of interest. And then it's not enough for him to just fire these people. He then said, and we're going to investigate you all criminally, you prosecutors.
He will have to pass through confirmation if he's going to be the permanent U.S. attorney.
He will. He will need a majority vote in the Senate. I believe he has no qualifications to do this job. I believe regardless of which party the senators are coming from, they should vote no, especially given the way he's handled it thus far. But basically every nominee above the Matt Gaetz line so far has gotten through. So.
He also clearly attracted the attention of President Trump because originally this was just an interim position. Trump had somebody else in mind, according to all the
and
reports.
this is one of the most sensitive and important federal prosecutors' offices in the country. This is D.C. So all the political stuff passes through there in some respect. All the January 6 cases, every member of Congress, a lot of statements that get made. And one of the things that he's really doing is he seems to be aggressively policing speech, right? One of the things he's threatened to do is, he said, I'm opening a criminal investigation of Chuck Schumer and Representative Garcia, both of whom made, inflammatory political comments. But that's not criminal. He is trying to take speech he does not like and threaten to make it criminal using his badge. He sees himself as almost this private police force for Trump and for Elon Musk. I see very bad things and very dangerous things ahead, especially if it gets confirmed.
Elie Honig, thanks very much.
Thanks, Andy.
Appreciate it.